Miraculous is probably considered the most inclusive cartoon right now. The cast is full of characters of all different shapes and ethnicities. I thought it was fitting with it being Pride Month and all to go through all the characters who are part of the LGBTQ community. Some of these characters were introduced in season 1 and have only recently come out. We're gonna see the best relationships and how they ended up happening, as well as characters who just haven't found their partner yet. Let's get into it. The most popular relationship, second to Marinette and Adrian's, is obviously Juleka and Rose's. These two have been close since season 1 and have been a fan favorite duo ever since. I love the dynamic of Rose's cute extrovertedness balanced with Juleka's tough timidness. The two of them have always worked well together, so it's no surprise they would eventually end up dating. It's not canonically been stated that the two of them are dating, but it's pretty obvious that they are both aware that they like each other. Fans have theorized that Juleka and Rose started going out together most likely around season 5. In the episode Migration, Rose is turned into a record and sings how she loves Juleka, causing Juleka to blush. Gold Record's powers causes people to sing what is in their hearts. While this includes their secrets, we can tell by everyone else's reactions that Rose loving Juleka is no surprise. Some people argue that since Juleka blushes, this means it's the first time Rose has mentioned her true feelings towards Juleka. However, Rose also sings about how she loves all her friends right after. I think this is a fair point, and it definitely deters the assumption that they were outright dating already. I don't think Juleka's blushing is necessarily because of what Rose said. It's more likely that Juleka is embarrassed that it's being said in front of other people, as Juleka is known for blushing when being put in the spotlight. I think it's more likely that Juleka and Rose are in the earliest stages of a serious relationship. We see in season 6 with the episode El Toro de Piedra. Rose kisses Juleka supposedly for the first time to encourage her to play solo on stage. I say it's their first kiss because, well, look at her reaction. This must be a big moment for them. While there are plenty of instances throughout the show that might assume they are dating, our best bet is that they started dating sometime near the end of season 5. Hopefully the show will eventually just outright say when, instead of making us guess. When fans wanted Juleka and Rose to date in earlier seasons, I honestly did not like the idea of that. They were the only female duo at the time that stood out besides Marinette and Alia, so I thought it'd be in poor taste to just make them an item since we see them together so often. I much rather liked the idea of a strong female relationship that earlier episodes somewhat lacked. However, as the show progressed and characters have been added and grown over time, I can now confidently say that making them more than friends is a good choice. New girls such as Zoe and Kagami have since taken a strong presence in more recent episodes, relieving the pressure that Marinette had in keeping positive relationships with everybody. We've just recently seen Zoe and Sabrina become close, and I like this. With all these individual friend groups starting to sprout up and work well together, it gives Juleka and Rose more space to openly date without causing a friendship void in the process. I hope they eventually get their own episode where it dives more into their history. Mark and Nathaniel are a pretty popular couple too. While their ship is not actually canon for some reason, it's very obvious that they have a thing going. Marinette actually paired them up all the way in season 1. She thought they'd be great at making comics together, and they ended up getting a lot closer than expected. They've mostly been seen in the background and were even holding hands in public. I think it's pretty clear what's going on here, and the fact that they aren't embarrassed about being seen together implies that they are more out of the closet than the show's creators are telling us. Season 6 has finally given us an episode diving more into Nathaniel and Mark's characters, and we get even more hints that they have a thing going behind the scenes. They made a comic together, and in the end, the two male characters fall in love with a rainbow and everything. They are not exactly being subtle, yet they refuse to make things official. It's honestly kind of weird that the writers haven't announced them yet. Maybe this new season will finally make it happen. They have already given us a lot. Miss Bustier is also a member of the LGBT community if you didn't know, but her wife Giselle has rarely been seen. I think she's only present in 3 episodes. Miss Bustier being gay was actually a surprise for the community. One episode she's pregnant, and the next we learn about her wife. I'm not saying that making her gay was a bad decision necessarily, it just should have been handled in a better way. We've known Miss Bustier for a long time, yet there wasn't a single instance that her sexuality could have been mentioned prior. It would have been nice to see her wife in earlier episodes, maybe even have her visit the school for one of the events and make her more of an actual character. Many fans suspect that Miss Bustier started out straight and was only recently switched in season 5 to make the show more inclusive. I can't say that I blame them for thinking this because Astruc does like to switch characters around with no explanation. A move like this would not be surprising coming from him. If her identity wasn't a surprise to the characters, then it shouldn't have been a surprise to us. I wish we had gotten more backstory for Miss Bustier's relationship, but now knowing she's already married with a baby, I doubt we'll be seeing much more of her. Zoe is by far a fan favorite. She was originally introduced merely as a way to replace Chloe. Everyone originally hated her for being an addition, mainly because it would remove all potential Chloe had. She stood as a pretty basic character for a while. She was a nice person who always did the right thing, just like how most of the characters act. This might be a hot take, but I think Zoe is really just a Marinette clone. They have so many similarities in character and design. They even share the same levels of dislike for Chloe, making the introduction of Zoe very displeasing. However, the writers noticed this and made a lot of changes recently. Zoe has since stepped out of the shadows and really become her own character. We discover she's gay in the episode Adoration, when she confesses to Marinette that she has a crush on her. I mean, it only makes sense that she'd crush on the girl who she's a copy of. They have so much in common.
What's your name? Zoe. My name's Zoe.
We haven't gotten much character development from her since then. She sort of blended right back into the group. However, in season 6, she stands up for Sabrina and offers to be her friend. I really like this since no one else was willing to notice Sabrina, and Zoe can relate to being left out just like Sabrina was feeling. This friendship makes so much sense. Fans suspect that Zoe and Sabrina will end up dating in the future. I still think it's too early to tell. If they do rush it and just make them an item, I think it will be a bad move. I really like them as just friends. It might ruin their dynamic if they end up dating. I personally like the idea of Sabrina trying to break out of the show Chloe had put her in by doing things she'd never do. We saw in the New York special how she liked a guy but didn't really act on it because of Chloe. Since then, we've never seen her try with a guy. I think it would be great character development for Sabrina and a good direction for her to go in the future episodes, only with Zoe's help. Speaking of the New York special, we got another lesbian couple presented. Majestia and Night Owl are the leaders of the United Heroes that protect New York. Majestia, aka Olympia Hill, married Night Owl, aka Barbara Keenis. They each have a daughter. Majestia created Aaron, and Night Owl had Kenya in a past relationship. The special does a terrible job at showing these characters' relationships. The majority of the time was spent on Marinette and Adrian, so we got very little details about their backstories. It's clear these two are meant to be a knockoff of Superman and Batman, but the relationships toward each other is a bit more romantic. There really isn't much else to say about these two. They are sort of just filler heroes, and honestly, I wouldn't mind them staying that way. I didn't like the route that the New York special took the show, so I hope they cut their losses and move on from these characters. There are lots of background characters that fans like to label as part of the LGBT community, but since they are rarely shown, it's unclear when they'll make another appearance, so I won't include them since they are not much to consider. While Miraculous Ladybug has been praised for having LGBT characters, there's a lot of fans who are worried that it's more about appearance than actual support for the community. Thomas Astruck has added same-sex couples and dropped some unnecessary queer subtext here and there, but a lot of it feels really shallow. Like it's thrown in just to claim inclusiveness without actually doing anything meaningful with those characters. Representation is super important, but if it just feels like ticking a box, it kind of misses the point and disrespects the people you're trying to represent. It makes me question if Astruck was trying to be inclusive or if he just wants the credit for looking like he is. I honestly find it incredibly weird and frankly a little creepy how many lesbian characters the show has compared to gay characters. We've known Mark and Nathaniel for forever, and yet the show writers refuse to progress the relationship further than speculation. All meanwhile, we have, 5 confirmed gay women, most of which are in a relationship? What's the deal? It does look like the show is starting to head in the right direction. Although it struggled with its identity in the past, these characters and their relationships seem to finally be getting the attention they need. There are so many couples of all sorts. Everyone feels represented in Miraculous in some form or another. I hope you enjoyed this video. If I missed a character or even a couple, let me know in the comments. Sometimes they add a lot of characters and they sort of get lost in the sauce. Also, please make sure to like and subscribe for more Miraculous content.